Welcome to the Confidence in You podcast, designed to help you build confidence and create positive, lasting change in your life. And here's your host, Helen Luxford.
Hi, and welcome back to the podcast where we dive deep into the journey of self-discovery, exploring personal growth and connecting in with your confidence. And thanks for being here. This is episode 5 of 6 of the Empowerment Essentials, a series focusing on self-discovery. And today is all about setting healthy boundaries, protecting your energy and prioritizing your well-being. And remember to stay till the end because I've got a special offer for you for a one-day women's wellness retreat on the 20th of October. A lot of people haven't even thought about boundaries and what they are and whether they have them or enforce them or not. And when I work with clients and I talk about boundaries, many of us struggle with what they are and setting them, often because we haven't really thought about boundaries before. Because we just live the life that we live. And sometimes because we fear setting boundaries might disappoint others or we may be perceived as selfish. But boundaries are an essential part of life. They're essential for protecting our energy, maintaining healthy relationships, and living a life that aligns with who you really are and what your values are. And today we'll discuss why boundaries are so important and how you can start understanding what yours are and setting them effectively. So let's begin by talking about what are boundaries, and why are they so crucial? So boundaries are the limits we set for ourselves in relationships, work, and personal life. They define what's acceptable and what's not for you, and they help you protect your time, energy, and emotional well-being. They're not meant to be walls that keep others out, but rather guidelines that teach others how to interact and treat you. Brené Brown, the renowned author and researcher, describes boundaries really simply as what's okay and what's not okay for you. Boundaries about understanding what is okay for you and what isn't, and allowing yourself the time to think about that, to stop and think about when are times that you feel a little bit uncomfortable or sometimes a lot uncomfortable, and then what can you do about that? How can you let other people know and understand what is acceptable for you and what isn't acceptable for you? And whilst the things that other people say and do may be acceptable for them and some people that are around them, they may not be for you, and that's okay. Because it's the boundaries that you're setting for yourself that protect your energy and protect your values. And setting boundaries is not about saying no to others. It's about saying yes to yourself and your needs, which may mean sometimes you do need to say no to others. And setting boundaries isn't a selfish act. It's a really, really essential act of self-respect and a crucial component of self-care. So why do boundaries matter? Let's talk about a few reasons why boundaries do matter. We only have so much energy to give, and without boundaries, we can become overwhelmed and exhausted. If we're constantly giving to others without taking time out for ourselves, we'll get tired and we will become exhausted. So boundaries are about you understanding where you want your energy to go, where you want to spend your time, where you want to do things that you want to do rather than that you're doing out of expectation. So protecting your energy might be a boundary that you set for yourself in when you do say yes and when you do say no, because that type of boundary will help you conserve your energy and allow you to put your time and effort into what really matters for you, what's important for you, not just saying yes to everything out of expectation. Another reason why boundaries are important and they matter is it helps you maintain healthy relationships. Boundaries are essential for healthy relationships, for when you know what's right for you and when others know what's right for you and what isn't acceptable. So some people like to joke around, some people don't. So if that's a boundary for you, then you can let people know so that you're not feeling uncomfortable when you're around them. Because if you're feeling uncomfortable around people, you're probably going to limit the interaction you have with them. And this may lead to them feeling that there's something at hand, there's an issue, but they don't really know what it is. So being able to explain to them and set boundaries around what is acceptable and what isn't will help you maintain healthy relationships. And it can prevent resentment and misunderstandings by you being able to clearly communicate your needs and expectations. Because when both parties know and respect each other's boundaries, relationships are more balanced and fulfilling. And it doesn't mean that you're offending the other person, it just means you're explaining what's acceptable to you or not. And this could be in relation to the language that's used around you, the behaviours that are used around you, the personal space that you like to have around you. Some people are huggers when they meet you, and you may feel uncomfortable with that, or people just may stand too closely to you, or the language they use or their behaviours may not be aligned with making you feel comfortable in that space. So being able to express yourself will help you maintain healthy relationships. Another really good reason why boundaries matter is it enhances self-respect, because setting boundaries for yourself is an act of self-respect. It's about honouring yourself, and it shows that you value yourself and your needs, and this in turn will boost your self-esteem and confidence. The other reason why boundaries are important is it can help prevent burnout. In today's busy, fast-paced world, it's easy to overcommit and to stretch yourself too thin. Having a boundary of when you will say yes and when you will say no, and understanding that for yourself will help you manage your commitments and prevent you overcommitting and exhausting yourself and burning out. And this allows you to conserve that energy to show up fully in the areas of your life that you want to, rather than giving to everyone else, saying yes, and coming home exhausted and not having the energy to engage with your partner, family, and friends. And understanding your boundaries and aligning that with your values is really important, because boundaries can help you live in alignment with your values. So if you're able to say to people, look, that situation makes me feel uncomfortable, or I really don't like going to that meeting or that event, then don't go. That's a value that you're setting for yourself. That's a boundary around the value. And this can ensure that you are aligned with your actions and commitments, and you reflect what's truly important to you, allowing you to actually then attend to things that you want to and be in the spaces where you feel comfortable, rather than going to things and then feeling uncomfortable in those spaces because you haven't been able to set a boundary to say no to those things. In my experience as a coach, I've found that there are some common challenges that people face in setting boundaries. So first of all, we need to understand what our boundaries are. And then the next step is being able to understand how we can set those boundaries. And despite their importance, setting boundaries can be challenging. And there's a few reasons why. What I've seen arise in my coaching sessions is that a big one is fear of disappointment. We often fear that setting boundaries for ourselves will disappoint others or might lead to conflict. And that can stop you from saying things and asserting yourself and discussing what your needs are and being able to set the boundaries around what you want, what you need. But it's really important to be able to identify that for yourself, even if you're not ready yet to take that next step to set it and enforce it. Understanding it and understanding the situations where you do feel uncomfortable and where there may be a breach of a boundary there, or there may have never been a boundary there because you've never thought to put one in place. They're all very, very normal, natural, common thoughts to have. Another reason why some people don't set boundaries is they may feel guilt, feeling guilty for prioritizing your own needs, especially if you're used to putting others first. And that guilt, that little voice inside you, or that feeling, can make it difficult to set and maintain boundaries. But again, sit with it, feel the feelings, and understand that your needs and you feeling comfortable and safe in the spaces that you go to is really, really important for you. Another challenge that may come up when I'm working with clients is unclear boundaries. Like sometimes we don't even know what our boundaries are. And that's what I'm referring to, is sitting with yourself and understanding when you feel uncomfortable and what is it that's leading to that. And then is there a boundary that you can put in place? because you do need clarity around what your boundaries are. Because without clarity, it's challenging to communicate them to others and for you to then make decisions on when you want to say yes to things and when you want to say no to things. A good way to think about boundaries is, when has there been times that you've felt uncomfortable or out of sorts about something? Or when is your gut feeling going, oh no, that's not quite, I don't feel good here, or I don't feel right? And these are great places to start for you to think about, what are those situations and what are the boundaries that are being crossed? Because if you're feeling uncomfortable and that little niggle inside, then it's likely that a boundary of yours has been breached, even if you're not sure yet what that boundary is. So I encourage you to just observe when you're feeling a little bit out of sorts or your gut is telling you something, and just see if there's a pattern emerging in those things that are coming up for you. Is it a pattern of situation? Is it a pattern of timing? Is it a pattern of behavior? Is it a pattern of language? And then identify what that is. And that's a good starting point for then you to decide, well, if that's occurring and there's a pattern, what boundary can I set in place to help me manage that better? Another challenge that comes up is lack of practice in asking for or asserting ourselves. And setting boundaries is a skill, and you can learn it. And you start small and you practice. And then you'll be able to ask or assert your needs better in a different way. Because if you're not used to asking for or asserting yourself, it can feel uncomfortable and unfamiliar. But like anything, with practice, with understanding, with identifying what it is, you can build that skill. Another thing that comes up as a challenge with clients is social or cultural conditioning. Now, we're all conditioned somewhat in our lives through our upbringing, and many of us are conditioned to be accommodating and agreeable, which can make boundary setting feel counterintuitive. So an example of this that is quite common is that we may have been brought up to give our grandparents or other family members a hug or a kiss hello and goodbye. And even though you may not like doing this, it's a societal expectation, so you do it. And I was raised in this way, that I had to give my grandparents a kiss hello and a kiss goodbye. And whilst I enjoyed being around them, I really didn't like giving my grandpa a kiss goodbye, because back in the day, and I was really little, he smoked and he had whiskers. And so when I went in to give him a kiss on the cheek, he was scratchy and he smelled of cigarettes, and I didn't like that. But as a kid, I didn't really have a choice, because that was what my parents expected and that is what we did. But as an adult, you do have a choice and you can choose something different. So just because you've always done something in a certain way doesn't mean you have to keep doing it that way, especially if you don't feel comfortable doing it. So that example was of me as a child, but is there something that you habitually do now that you don't really think about, but each time you do it, it kind of, there's a little niggle inside you somewhere? And that may be that it's a societal or a cultural conditioning that, we shake hands, or I don't know what it is. But if there's something for you that is raising a little niggle inside you, think about, what is it about that situation and where might that have come from? Is it something that is a habit of something that people expect us to do, but you don't want to do it anymore? So there are a lot of the challenges that are common around people facing and setting boundaries. So let's explore some practical strategies now for how you can set and maintain boundaries. I've already mentioned in this podcast that you can start by identifying your boundaries, and that is reflecting on those situations where you feel uncomfortable, stressed, or resentful even. And these feelings often indicate a boundary that needs to be identified, set, or reinforced. And then the next step is to communicate clearly. So once you've identified your boundaries, practice how you can communicate them clearly and assertively. And that doesn't mean loud or rude. It just means with you understanding how you're going to communicate it and being confident internally in saying that. And it may take practice. You may start by writing things down and then reading them out to yourself, or practicing in the mirror, or talking to a friend about it. And communicating your needs, it's a good way is to start with I statements to express your needs, such as you might say, I need some time to myself this weekend to recharge, which means saying no to a social event or helping someone out. Or you could start with I need, and then write down all the things that you would like, the things that you need to help you be balanced and maintain your energy in different ways. Or you could say, I'm not comfortable in X situations or when Y happens. So can you please avoid doing that in front of me? Or can you not use that language when I'm around, or whatever is making you uncomfortable, but communicate what it is about that situation that you would like to be different. And if you've listened to my podcast, you'll hear me say, start small. And I recommend, again, start small. If setting boundaries feels daunting, just have a look at and identify all of the boundaries that are making you uncomfortable, and then start small. Practice setting boundaries in a low stake situation, such as maybe declining a social invitation so you can maintain your energy, or even asking for help with a task. So setting a boundary might be that you've got a lot on your list that you've already said yes to, and now it's creating an opportunity to ask for help. And once you've identified your boundaries and you're communicating them, consistency is key to maintaining it. So once you've set a boundary, stick to it, even though it may be hard in some situations where you might say no to helping someone and then they're asking you in different ways and you feel that guilt rising inside you. But stick to your boundaries because you've set them for a reason. And being able to say, look, I'd really like to help you out, but I can't. I'm overloaded this weekend, or I just need time for myself to recharge, is perfectly fine. And this reinforces your commitment to yourself, to your well-being. And it helps others understand your limits. And with practice and with your consistency, they will then understand and respect your limits and your boundaries. And it's amazing how quickly that can happen. Something that may happen though is you may get a little bit of pushback from those around you. It's normal to encounter resistance when you first establish and set boundaries, especially if others are not used to them. If you've always said yes to people, and that was me, I was a yes person, and you start to say no, or not now, or I can't yet, people may find it unusual or hard to accept. But you need to stay true to yourself. So they may go, oh, come on, you've always helped me out in these situations. Can you do it again? But stay firm and reiterate your needs, just calmly and confidently, because this is putting your needs first and taking back control of your time and energy, albeit even if it's in a really small way. And I encourage you to practice self-compassion. Setting boundaries can be challenging, especially if you and others are not used to it. So be kind to yourself and acknowledge your efforts. And if you have a little slip and you say yes when you really wanted to say no, that's okay. Just remember it's okay to prioritize your well-being and just be a little bit compassionate with yourself. And if you're struggling to set boundaries, or you don't know how, or you're not really sure what they are for you, consider talking to someone about it. Seek support from a friend, a trusted advisor, a therapist, a coach, or a support group. They can help you provide guidance and encouragement as you navigate identifying and setting your boundaries and maintaining them. And remember, setting boundaries is an essential act of self-care and self-respect, because by protecting your energy and prioritizing your well-being, you can create space for the things that are truly important and that matter to you, and you can show up in those situations with more energy because you haven't run yourself thin. So this week, I challenge you to identify one area where you need to set or hold a boundary, and then take a small step towards communicating and maintaining that boundary. And notice how when you do hold it, it can give you back energy, and it can maintain you being more engaged in the areas that you want to be. And remember, you deserve to live a life that aligns with your values and supports your well-being. So until next time, keep reclaiming your radiant and embracing the power of boundaries. And keep an eye on my socials and website for upcoming masterclasses and events, or DM me to find out more. I'm running a one-day women's wellness retreat in a few weeks in Melbourne. So if you're in that area, check out the link in the show notes and you can use a special discount coupon code of WWD25 to receive a 25% discount on the ticket price. And share this with family and friends and come along to that wonderful one-day wellness retreat with a friend, a sister, a mother or other to share an amazing day with other like-minded women. Or check out my website, www.helenluxford.com, under events. And join me next week where we'll dive into goal setting, accountability, and celebrating success. And if you'd like some help booking for a free 30-minute consult on my website, the link is in the show notes. And I'd love for you to share this episode with family and friends so together we can raise our confidence. Thanks for being here. And until next time, remember to let your light shine.